Hello and welcome back to Bookish and welcome back to Saturday Hodgepodge, my weekly wrap-up of reading, booktube things, bookish things, any other random stuff I want to talk about or put in the video. This morning, or last night maybe, I saw a video on the channel Travel Through Stories. I'm sorry I don't know the name of the creators. I'm sorry I don't know the name of the creator at that channel, but he did a video about audiobooks and their value. Even as, a way of experiencing works of literature, and sometimes quite serious works of literature, and sometimes difficult works of literature. And that video is just absolutely great. And if anybody, here has any doubt about the value of audiobooks, you should definitely go and watch that video, not just because of the arguments the creator makes there, but also you get to hear him speak in Middle English, which was just really... As somebody, like me, who could never possibly do that, it just really kind of blew me away and was great. But it also appealed to me because I'd been thinking about talking about audiobooks on one of my hodgepodges for a while, and I kind of had put it off. A while back, I got into an argument with somebody about audiobooks in the comments section of someone else's video. I'm not going to say who because there's no reason to go track that down. But in that argument, one of the things that came up was that while the guy who makes the video for Travel Through Stories is absolutely right, that there's a lot of condescension towards audiobooks, and I don't disagree with him at all. I agree with him completely about that. There's also, I think, sometimes a bit of defensiveness on the part of people who really love audiobooks. And I think that came up in that discussion. So I wanted to make 2 points about audiobooks. Before I do that, let me tell you, I listen to audiobooks and I enjoy them. Much as the creator of the video over at Travel Through Stories talks about, I love listening to audiobooks when I'm out, for a walk, which is what I do for exercise. He runs, I walk. I'm not running anymore. But anyway, unless somebody's chasing me. But I really enjoy that, and I like that experience, and I feel like I experience the stories in a really profound way. I don't feel like my understanding the stories any less because I listen to it on audiobook, and I am not here to demean or attack audiobooks in any way, shape, or form. But in that discussion, what came up with me and this other person who I was arguing with, I know none of you who know me would be surprised at all that I enjoy arguing, was that almost anything you say to this person, and I assume this is true for other listeners of audiobooks perhaps, and maybe not, if I say that listening to an audiobook is different than reading the book itself, I think a lot of people get defensive right out of the gate. So, let me just talk about 2 points having to do with audiobooks that I want to make. Number one, the experience of reading a book to yourself silently is different than the experience of listening to an audiobook. They are 2 different experiences. They're done through, 2 different sense organs. The brain processes the information essentially the same, and studies indicate that retention of information is essentially the same, but the experience, the actual physical experience is different. There's no denying that that's true. Listening is not reading. That doesn't mean that listening to an audiobook is a lesser activity than reading a book silently yourself, at least not to me. That's not what I'm trying to say, but I am trying to say it is different because, it is different. Now, audiobooks provide a great way for all kinds of people who, for various reasons, can't necessarily sit down and easily read a physical book. Whether it's dyslexia or whether they have issues with their vision or whatever it is, or issues being able to concentrate without getting a headache, audiobooks are great, and I think you can get as much from the audiobook as you can from reading the book, but the experience is different. And one of the things that makes the experience different, again, notice I'm saying different, not less. One of the things that makes the experience different is that you are hearing another person's voice read the book to you. This may in fact make listening to the audiobook a richer experience than reading to yourself, but again, it does make it different, and that's my second point. This came up, and part of this occurred to me because I listened to F. Scott Fitzgerald's The Beautiful and Damned as an audiobook. and the narrator of that audiobook version I listened to was a man. There's a lot of dialogue in the book from female characters, and the way in which the voice that man adopted for the main female character named Gloria in the book made her sound simpering and whiny. And that may indeed be exactly what F. Scott Fitzgerald wanted us to think when we read Gloria's lines to herself, but when that actor reading the audiobook reads it that way, it adds a layer of characterization to Gloria, which maybe emphasizes those aspects of her character more, maybe, you know, isn't really true necessarily what Fitzgerald said, and that's a really important difference. Again, that might make the experience richer, but it definitely makes it different. If you've ever listened to an audiobook or started to listen to an audiobook, and the voice of the narrator, or the way in which the narrator or the reader of the audiobook did the voices irritated you to the point where you couldn't keep listening, then, you know, that's further proof that listening to an audiobook is different than reading the book to yourself, because, you know, if you have an interior monologue when you read, then you're hearing your own voice, and I hope you don't find yourself all that irritating. And if you don't, then you don't hear a voice at all, but with an audiobook, you certainly do. Also, you may know, because I mention all the time, I listen to a lot of classics and books that are out of copyright on LibriVox. And LibriVox readers are oftentimes volunteers, and a lot of the LibriVox audiobooks are actually read by different volunteers. So you might have 2 chapters from one reader and then 5 chapters from another, and so on. This came up recently because one of my Victober books was H.G. Wells' novel War of the Worlds, and there were probably 6 different narrators or readers of that book on the LibriVox audio book version. And to me, that kind of actually added something to it, even though the story is primarily told from one person's point of view. Hearing these different voices made it seem like what was going on was an experience that took on to more people, but notice how that changed the way the book affected me. And, you know, some of the readers I liked better than others, which also then affects the way, you know, my experience of the book. And so I do not think I don't think it's a harsh criticism. I don't think it's demeaning to suggest that listening to the book, listening to an audiobook, is a different experience than reading the audiobook. And I hope that I can say that without demeaning audiobooks at all, because I really like audiobooks for all the reasons the creator over there at Travel to Stories outlines. Anyway, I wanted to talk about that briefly, and his video was just excellent. Please go watch it. There'll be a link down in the description below. I also want to shout out 2 other channels whose videos I've been watching recently. And being an old man and a disorganized old man, I don't write down who I shout out, so it's entirely possible I've shouted these people out before. If so, well, I'm shouting them out again. One is a channel called Rachel is Reading, and that creator, her reading tastes are really great, and her analysis of books and her experience of books, I think, is really interesting and entertaining. So go check out her channel. And then also I wanted to mention Average Joe's Library. Average Joe's Library is a great channel with a very down-to-earth creator who talks about books, as he will tell you, basically just as he experiences them. I saw a video on his channel over on his channel recently called "Why You May Not Like My Channel," my BookTube channel, which I just thought was really great and honest and straightforward. So please go check out Average Joe's Library as well. And then also, I mentioned this several times before, I watch train videos where they essentially shoot footage as the train goes down the track, usually out the front window. I saw one recently from a Swiss train that's actually shot out the window of the train. The video was shot by someone holding a camera, you know, looking out the window of the train. And the quality of light in that video in the Swiss Alps was just so incredibly beautiful and crystalline. I'm going to leave a link to that down below because I found that to be just a really kind of beautiful, moving experience, even though I was just, you know, sitting in my living room watching the video on my television. So I'll leave a link down below because I think it was great. Victober's going on. I finished my 3rd Victober book. I read Dr. Thorne on my Kindle. Dr. Thorne by Anthony Trollope III in the Barchester Chronicles series. I read it. I liked it. I love Trollope's writing. I mentioned this before. I love it when he talks directly to us as readers. I love the names of his characters. I love the way in which he develops characters and they become kind of fully realized. I will say that I didn't like Dr. Thorne nearly as much as Barchester Towers, the second book in the series, because I just felt like the ending of Dr. Thorne seemed like it was something that I knew was going to happen, and at some point it just felt like Trollope was just teasing the story out to make it as long and as complicated as possible. So in that respect, I didn't like it as much as Barchester Towers. Also, I'm still involved in 2 buddy reads. I'll be checking in with the buddy read group of Austerlitz by W.J. Sebald. This involves Courtney Ferriter from the channel of the same name, Mark Nash from the channel of the same name, and Zena from Beating Around the Books. We checked in last week, and I just had a great time listening to and reading everybody's comments and thinking about Sebald's novel, which this is a reread for me and no less rich experience. I have a feeling that Sebald is one of those writers I could go back and reread and get more or as much or enjoy just as much. Also, my ongoing long-term buddy read of The Warmth of Those Suns with Mary and Ryan is still going on. We'll have our next check-in on Monday this coming up week, and this is going well. You know, in a book this long and reading it this slowly and closely, you know, you kind of get to see some of the, I don't know, get a glimpse behind the curtains. You see the kind of the imperfections of the book, but it is still incredibly powerful, well put together, thoroughly researched, well written, and it's just been great to read and to read it with Marion. So I think that's about it. I think that's all I have to talk about today on this Saturday. I was outside with my dogs the other day, hoping to catch a glimpse of the air show, which takes place near my house, and sometimes the planes fly over my house. I missed the air show, but I did sit in my backyard for a while, and I took some video on my phone just because, you know, I think oftentimes since I live in a very developed but suburban area south of Houston, oftentimes I think I fail to appreciate nature because it seems like everything here is just kind of manufactured. But, you know, if you sit outside long enough and pay attention, you kind of realize that the natural world's going on around you, no matter what, you know, where you are or what you're doing or thinking. And so I just put together a really short video clip. They'll be at the end of this. As always, look forward to your comments in the comments section below, and thank you for watching.
Zelda. Zelda.